Hello everyone, it's great to see you again. Today we have one of the most crucial topics that's usually quite boring to discuss: standards and regulations in AI. It's about how humanity creates the rules of the game for artificial intelligence. Imagine you're an architect of the future. Not an ordinary architect who designs buildings from brick and concrete, but someone who creates blueprints for an entire digital world. Every line on your plans determines how billions of people will live. Every decision influences whether technology becomes our helper or turns into an uncontrolled force. These are exactly the kinds of architects that international organizations, governments, and industry committees are today. They don't build skyscrapers, they construct a framework of trust for artificial intelligence technologies. Can you imagine how complex this task is? Much more complex than designing the world's tallest building. Standards and AI regulation really are very much like architecture. It's the foundation on which society's trust in technology is built. These are the building codes that prevent our digital house from collapsing on our heads. Let's start with the most important question. Why do we even need standards for artificial intelligence? First and foremost, safety. When AI controls a car or makes medical decisions, we can't afford a fingers-crossed approach. Second, fairness. AI should work equally well for all people, regardless of their background or social status. And third, trust. People need to understand how systems that affect their lives actually work. So, who are these architects of the digital future? Let's start at the international level. The first and most important is the Joint Technical Committee of ISO and IEC for Information Technology. It sounds intimidating, but it's really just a group of very smart people from different countries who agree on how technologies should work. In 2017, they created a special subcommittee on artificial intelligence to focus specifically on it. Now, let's talk about something that affects each of us personally. In May 2018, the General Data Protection Regulation, known as GDPR, came into effect in Europe. GDPR has a very important requirement regarding AI. Personal data, including AI predictions, must be accurate enough for the purposes for which they are used. Notice, not 100% accurate. The regulation understands that AI cannot be error-free, but it must be accurate enough. It's like the difference between Swiss watches and phone clocks. Both show time, but accuracy requirements are different. But international standards are just the beginning. Each country adds its own architectural details. For example, in Germany, the National Standardization Organization, DIN, developed something called the AI Quality Metamodel. The Germans, as always, approached the issue with German thoroughness and created a detailed blueprint of what quality should look like in artificial intelligence. Now, for the most interesting part, industry standards. Here, each industry creates its own rules of the game. The Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers is working on a whole range of standards on ethics and artificial intelligence. They have a special global initiative on ethical considerations in AI and autonomous systems, and it includes an entire army of engineers thinking about how to make robots ethical. When AI is used in safety-related systems, requirements become even stricter. Take the automotive industry, for example. There's a standard called ISO 26262. This standard is so important that in some countries it's simply illegal to sell a car whose software doesn't comply with this standard. There's also SOTIF, ISLP AS21448, Safety of the Intended Function. This standard was specifically created for situations where a system works correctly technically but may cause harm due to limitation in its design. Let's highlight the most important points. First, ISO-IEC is a subcommittee created in 2017 specifically for AI standards. Second, GDPR requires personal data to be accurate enough for its purposes. Not perfectly accurate, but accurate enough. Third, standards can be voluntary but often become mandatory through legislation or contracts. And fourth, for safety-related systems, special regulatory standards apply, such as ISO 26262 for automobiles. Now about how all this applies to real AI testing. When we test an AI-based system, we must verify its compliance with applicable standards. This means we need to understand exactly which standards apply in a specific area. For example, if we're testing a medical diagnostic system, we need to ensure it meets medical regulatory requirements. If it's an automotive system, then automotive safety standards. Special attention should be paid to GDPR compliance testing if the system processes personal data of European citizens. We must verify that the system provides sufficient prediction accuracy and respects people's rights to explanation of automated decisions. I also wanted to tell you that many of the standards we're studying today were still under development when the first AI certification for QA was written, and that was in 2021. This shows how rapidly the field of artificial intelligence is developing. We literally live in an era when the rules of the game are being written right now as we speak. New technologies appear every day, and regulators are trying their best to keep up with them. It's like building a bridge while cars are already driving on it, and engineers and testers like us also participate in this process. We too influence what tomorrow's standards will be through our bug reports, improvement suggestions, and professional experience. So, let's summarize our journey into the world of digital future architects. AI standards and regulation aren't just bureaucratic documents, they're an entire foundation of trust between technology and society. International organizations like ISO/IEC create general principles. Regional regulations like GDPR protect citizens' rights. National standards add local specificity, and industry initiatives ensure rules apply to specific areas. For us, this means we must always remember, our job isn't just finding bugs in code. We verify that systems comply with the rules society considers important for a safe and fair digital life. In the next lecture, we'll move from architects to the buildings themselves. We'll talk about quality characteristics of AI-based systems. We'll learn what makes AI flexible, adaptive, and autonomous, and how these properties affect our testing. Meanwhile, think about this. What kind of digital future would you like to live in? And what contribution can you, as testing professionals, make to creating that future? Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next lecture.